Have you ever noticed something strange? You can want money, you can need money, you can even work hard for money, and yet, somehow it never stays. Opportunities vanish at the last second. Success comes then collapses. Just when things improve, something inside you hesitates. Not fear, not laziness, something quieter, almost protective. What if the problem isn't your effort, but a hidden part of your mind that believes money is dangerous? And what if, without realizing it, you've been pushing wealth away to stay loyal to an identity you built long ago? There is another layer to this that most people never notice, because it lies beneath thought, beneath intention, beneath even emotion. It lives in the body. You can say you want money, you can visualize it, plan for it, chase it, but the body does not respond to words. The body responds to memory. And if your body learned at any point in your life that money meant tension in the chest, tight voices in the room, sudden silence, or emotional withdrawal, it will treat money like a threat long before your mind has a chance to argue. This is why some people feel physically uncomfortable when they raise their prices, ask for a promotion, or see their bank account grow. There is a subtle contraction, almost like guilt, almost like fear, but not quite either. It is the nervous system saying, last time power showed up, something bad followed. So the system does what it was designed to do. It protects you. It pulls you back into familiar territory, even if that territory is scarcity. And here is the quiet tragedy of it. The mind often mistakes this protection for intuition. People say, it just didn't feel right, or something told me not to go further. But not every inner voice is wisdom. Some voices are echoes, old ones. Voices formed in moments when you were too young to understand what was happening, but old enough to absorb its emotional weight. There are people who unconsciously believe that ease must be earned through suffering. They don't trust money that comes smoothly. So when things begin to work, they create problems. They complicate what was simple. They overthink, overwork, and eventually exhaust the very flow they claim to desire. Not because they enjoy struggle, but because struggle feels honest to them. It feels familiar, it feels deserved. Others fear that money will expose them, that if they become successful, people will expect more, see more, demand more. And somewhere inside there is a younger self who learned that visibility leads to criticism or rejection. So staying just below potential becomes a form of camouflage. Safe, invisible, manageable. What most people don't realize is that the psyche is not designed to make you successful. It is designed to keep you consistent. Consistent with your past, consistent with your emotional identity. If you grew up feeling small, money threatens to make you large. If you grew up feeling responsible for others' emotions, money threatens to free you. And freedom can feel more dangerous than struggle when your sense of self was built inside limitation. Healing this does not begin with forcing new habits. It begins with recognizing the moment your body tightens when abundance approaches. That pause, that hesitation, that urge to retreat. Instead of pushing through it or judging it, you stay with it. You ask quietly what it is afraid of losing, because every resistance protects something: belonging, love, safety, identity. And when the unconscious finally understands that you are not abandoning your values, not leaving people behind, not becoming someone unrecognizable, it loosens its grip, not all at once, not dramatically, but subtly. You notice fewer self-made obstacles. You follow through a little longer. You allow things to work without immediately questioning them. And that is when money stops feeling like an intruder in your life and starts feeling like a neutral presence. Something you can hold, shape, and release without fear. Not because you changed who you are, but because you stopped fighting the part of you that was only trying to keep you safe. I knew this man for years. On the surface, everything about him suggested success was inevitable. He was sharp in conversation, the kind of person who could connect ideas quickly and make others feel understood. He wasn't lazy or careless. In fact, he worked harder than most people I've seen. When he talked about his projects, you could feel his energy. People leaned in. They wanted to be part of whatever he was building. And almost every time, the beginning proved them right. A new idea would turn into real momentum. Clients showed interest. Collaborators reached out. Money started appearing, not in fantasy amounts, but enough to signal that something real was happening. The kind of progress most people wait years for. Then, without warning, the energy shifted. Not in a dramatic collapse. No scandals. No explosions. Just small, almost invisible cracks. He'd take longer to reply to important messages. He'd hesitate on decisions he once felt excited about. He'd start questioning prices he had confidently set, telling himself he didn't want to seem greedy or too much. He'd become irritable with people who were trying to help him grow, interpreting simple feedback as pressure or control. Watching it from the outside was confusing. It didn't look like fear. It looked like distraction, like burnout. like bad timing. And that's exactly how he explained it every time. He always had a reasonable story. The partnership didn't feel right anymore. He needed to recenter. Nothing sounded irrational. Nothing sounded self-destructive. Except it kept happening. Different project, same ending. One evening, long after most of these ventures had quietly faded, we were talking about something unrelated. No pressure, no analysis, just conversation. And out of nowhere, he mentioned his father, not emotionally. "My father hated rich people," he said. "He used to say they were empty inside, that they stepped on others, that money ruined people." There was no anger in his voice, just a statement of fact. But the moment hung in the air, because suddenly the pattern had a face, a voice, a source. For him, wealth wasn't just income, it was a moral line. Crossing it meant becoming someone untrustworthy, someone cold, someone his father would have despised. And even though his father wasn't there anymore, that judgment lived on inside him, quietly shaping every decision. So when success came close, something inside him pulled the brakes. Not to punish him, but to keep him loyal. Loyal to an identity formed long before he understood money at all. His mind wasn't protecting him from failure. It was protecting him from becoming an outsider in his own inner world. From losing the feeling of being good. That's what inner exile really is. It's not being rejected by others. It's being rejected by the version of yourself you learned to survive as. And this doesn't start in adulthood. It starts much earlier, in moments you barely remember consciously, but your body never forgot. Long before you could explain what money was, you felt its presence. You felt it in the air when bills arrived and the room grew tense. You felt it when voices dropped, when laughter disappeared, when adults suddenly seemed far away even though they were right there. You felt it when arguments ended in silence instead of resolution, when shame wasn't spoken, but lived in posture, in tone, in the way people avoided each other's eyes. Your nervous system absorbed all of it without asking permission. Children don't think in concepts, they think in sensations. Tight chest, heavy stomach, uneasy quiet, and the body learns quickly. It connects patterns. Money equals stress, money equals distance, money equals emotional withdrawal, money equals instability. From those experiences, an emotional blueprint forms. Not a belief you can argue with, but a reflex that activates automatically. If something consistently precedes pain, the body learns to avoid it. It doesn't matter if that thing is a loud noise, a certain tone of voice, or money itself. So years later, when you say you want success, your conscious mind means it. You imagine relief, freedom, possibility. But the unconscious remembers something else entirely. It remembers the cost. It remembers what happened to connection, safety, or love when money entered the room. And so it whispers caution, not in words but in feelings. Hesitation, procrastination, doubt that feels strangely reasonable, a loss of energy right when things start to work. You don't feel like you're sabotaging yourself. You feel like you're being careful, responsible, thoughtful. That's the most deceptive part, because you didn't choose this response. You inherited it. Your body chose it when you were too young to do anything else. And it's been trying to keep you safe ever since, even if the danger it's guarding against no longer exists. The conflict, then, isn't between you and money. It's between who you were taught to be and who you're trying to become. Until that conflict is seen clearly, the pattern repeats, quietly, logically, convincingly. And that's why awareness changes everything. Not because it instantly makes you rich, but because it finally reveals what you've been loyal to all along. There is a shadow side to money that most people never consciously explore, not because it's complex, but because it threatens how they see themselves. On the surface, they speak about abundance with excitement. They quote ideas about freedom and security. They imagine ease. But underneath those words, there is often an unspoken judgment. Wealth is associated with manipulation, with stepping on others, with becoming cold or disconnected. These associations didn't come from nowhere. They were absorbed from family conversations, cultural narratives, stories about who good people are and who bad people become once they have power. So when money starts moving towards someone like this, something subtle shifts inside. There is a tightening, a hesitation that doesn't feel like fear, but like a moral checkpoint. The psyche asks a quiet question: if I accept this, do I lose something essential about myself? Do I become less kind, less grounded, less human? And because the unconscious doesn't work in abstractions, it doesn't wait for the answer. It acts. It creates small behaviors that preserve the existing identity. Prices are lowered so no one feels taken advantage of. Opportunities are delayed so growth doesn't accelerate too quickly. Responsibility is avoided so power never fully lands in the hands. From the outside, this looks like humility. It even looks admirable. but internally it is often driven by fear of corruption, fear of being judged, fear of becoming someone unrecognizable. Power amplifies what is already there, and if someone hasn't made peace with their own shadow, anger, ambition, desire, money feels dangerous. So the psyche keeps it at a distance, not because the person lacks confidence, but because their self-image cannot yet include authority without shame. This inner conflict deepens when belonging is involved. One of the most powerful emotional forces in a human being is the need to remain connected to their tribe. Not socially, but emotionally. If you grew up in a family where everyone struggled together, where hardship was shared and understood, success can feel like betrayal. Rising too far creates distance, and distance once meant danger. The nervous system remembers that. So when financial growth begins, a quiet fear emerges: if I change, will I still be loved? If I become different, will I still belong? The body doesn't distinguish between emotional distance and physical abandonment. Both register as threat, and so the psyche makes a choice. It chooses loyalty over expansion. It chooses to stay small enough to remain familiar. This is why some people feel an unexpected guilt when they earn more than those around them. They downplay their achievements, soften their language, make themselves smaller in conversations. They give away money impulsively, not out of generosity, but out of a need to restore balance. To say, "I'm still one of you." The behavior isn't logical, but it is deeply relational. It is an attempt to stay connected to a version of home that exists inside the body, even if that home was painful. Money also threatens something even more personal: identity. It doesn't just change what you can afford. It changes how you see yourself and how others respond to you. It forces you to confront questions you may have avoided for years. What am I worth without struggle? What choices do I make when survival is no longer the main concern? How much responsibility am I willing to carry? For many people, struggle became a personality. It gave them meaning, depth, even dignity. Sacrifice made them feel valuable. Endurance became proof of character. When wealth enters the picture, it disrupts this narrative. If life becomes easier, does that mean you're less strong, less deserving, less real? The unconscious often answers these questions by returning to what it knows. Familiar pain feels safer than unfamiliar power. At least pain has a shape, a rhythm, a story. Power requires presence. It demands clarity, boundaries, and ownership of desire. And for someone whose identity was built around giving, enduring, or surviving, that can feel like stepping into foreign territory without a map. So the psyche resists, not loudly, not dramatically, but consistently, until the person begins to see that the real work isn't learning how to make money, but learning how to exist without the identities that scarcity once required. The moment you stop asking, "How do I make more money?" and instead ask, "What does money represent to me?" is the moment everything starts to shift, not magically, but quietly, subtly, profoundly. Most of us have approached wealth as a problem to be solved, a target to hit, or a number to chase. We think the solution lies in harder work, better strategy, or luck, but the truth is that no strategy will work if your mind has already learned to resist abundance. Money is never just currency. It is a mirror. It reflects your beliefs about self, worth, trust, safety, and even love. When you ask, "What does money represent to me?" you begin a conversation with your unconscious, the part of yourself that actually decides whether wealth is safe or dangerous. You start noticing the moments where you hesitate, the emails you delay, the opportunities you quietly let pass, the moments you undervalue your worth. At first, it feels almost painful because it requires honesty. You realize you've been protecting yourself from something invisible, something you learned to fear long before you understood money. The beauty of this awareness is that it does not ask you to judge yourself. It does not blame, it simply invites observation. And in observation, power begins to emerge. Resistance in this context is no longer an enemy. It is a wounded guardian, a part of you that once did its job very well. It kept you aligned with the rules, the values, and the patterns you inherited. It prevented shame, abandonment, or conflict. It may have kept you small, but it also kept you intact. Once you recognize it as a guardian rather than a saboteur, something remarkable happens. Fear loses its grip. You start to experiment carefully with choice. You let yourself accept opportunities, receive compensation, and take action without guilt. You notice that the world doesn't punish you for growth. People aren't judging you as harshly as your mind predicted. Step by step, that internal barrier, the one that has kept money just out of reach, softens. True financial growth, then, is not about force or frantic striving. It is about integration. It is about holding abundance without becoming someone you do not recognize. It is about embracing power without letting fear or old conditioning dictate how you use it. This is where humanity and wealth meet. Integration is the recognition that having resources does not require abandoning compassion, humility, or connection. You can earn more without becoming greedy. You can have influence without becoming cruel. You can accept comfort without feeling guilty. The mind finally realizes that wealth does not equal danger, and only then does it allow the flow to move freely. Money was never avoiding you. It was never punishing you. It was waiting for you to reconcile with yourself, to reach a place where abundance could coexist with integrity. Until that reconciliation, every financial opportunity would trigger hesitation, guilt, or self-sabotage. Once you see wealth as a tool for expression rather than a threat to identity, the inner conflict begins to dissolve. You stop holding yourself back, stop shrinking to match outdated rules, and stop fearing success because it feels alien. The emotional truth is this: life often teaches us that security comes from struggle, identity comes from endurance, and safety comes from limitation. But growth demands something else: courage to see your own patterns, compassion to understand your own fears, and patience to let your unconscious recalibrate. Once you do, abundance does not feel like a trap. It feels like a natural extension of your life. Opportunities no longer slip through your fingers. Decisions no longer paralyze you. What once felt blocked begins to flow, not because you forced it, not because the universe finally favored you, but because your mind, the part that shaped every hesitation, finally stopped protecting you from a danger that no longer exists. And the real, quiet victory is this: you can now hold wealth, influence, and choice, and still be yourself. You can have more without losing the essence of who you are. That is the deepest form of freedom, and the hardest lesson most people never learn.